What the heck is going on now? Why are we seeing all this craziness with these lawsuits? Where did this come out of? That right there is a sign that, we're in trouble. And remember, the last thing you want to do is piss off the DOJ, okay? It doesn't really make sense to sell a house and buy a new one. China's on fire. It's burning. I mean, the real estate market is burning up. They don't know what to do.
Welcome back to the Reside Platform Podcast. Today's guest, Steve Hawks, is going to be talking about the commission lawsuits, but stay with me because this backstory and history is something I've never heard before when it comes to the DOJ, and there's going to be some predictions on what to expect next. Now, Steve is an expert, and I don't say that lightly. Steve's been on ABC, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, featured in Business Week, Wall Street Journal, expert panelist in Washington, D.C. He's also personally sold over 5,000 homes. He's in the trenches. He runs a business at a very high level in Las Vegas. Steve Hawks, welcome to the Reside Platform Podcast.
Yes. Thanks, Duke. Great to be here. You too, Sunit.
Yes.
Very good. And we are also here with Sunit Agarwal, already in Las Vegas for the Sheplack Live Maverick Mastermind.
Yes, sir. Got in last night here at the beautiful business center at the Green Valley Ranch, which is extremely hard to find. So I hope you don't have to find it. I'm so excited to have Steve here. As soon as the original lawsuit, as soon as it was it got shut, right? And everybody, what's the word I'm looking for, Steve? I can't think, remember when the case was done. The first call I made was Steve. I was all, dude, I got to call Steve.
Yeah.
All right, and let me get it straight from the man, because when there's information like this, I think Steve is one of the foremost experts on this and really educated. So, dude, I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's interesting times, definitely. Like I was talking to Nick, I was on, in September 2020, I was talking about it on one of John's masterminds on the Zoom. I said, hey, this is going to have a massive impact on our industry in many different ways. And nothing happened for a while because the courts were closed, right? So everyone's going, what the heck is going on now? Why are we seeing all this craziness with these lawsuits? Where did this come out of? Well, if you remember, it started back the DOJ started in 2018 and the lawsuit started in 2019. But guess what? All the courts were closed, right? From 2020, and depending on what state, a lot of these courts were closed for 2 years, sometimes 2.5. So when they did open, they were backlogged and the more important ones got pushed forward. So this is why it's starting to snowball now, and that's why we're seeing it. And if you remember, I mean, we got to get our own research. We got to get our own information on what's really going on and how it's going to impact us. Because if you think NAR is going to give us the data that we need, the information we need to make educated guesses for the future on how to prepare for this, you're going to be sadly mistaken. Back in 2019, right here in the Realtor magazine, they said these cases are baseless. NAR said that the lawsuit against NAR is baseless. And
wow.
I did a video when they put that out. I said, baseless? I mean, what are you talking about? Then she said right here that commissions can be negotiated at any time. Well, we know they can't be negotiating time, and that's all in the report that the NAR put out with the attorney. So back then I knew, wait, something's not right here. And then, the courts are closed. Fast forward to what just happened. That case that in Missouri, I gave it like a maybe 50-60% chance that we would be able to, NAR would be able to, and the franchises would be able to pull that off. And I did a video before the case, before the trial, that what Anywhere did and Remax did was brilliant. They settled it and they were out. People, they should fight it. And I was at a convention and I was speaking, and the guy next to me was saying that Gary Keller, he was from Keller Williams, said Gary Keller was going to fight this. And a lot of people started cheering. I'm saying to myself, I don't know if that's such a good idea, folks. This isn't an echo chamber. This is the court of law now. This isn't realtors we're talking
about. Right.
So, and this guy, okay, the outcome of this case in Missouri was the worst case scenario for NAR and the franchises that were named in it times 2. That case was supposed to be, maybe, like I said, 50-50, 60%, we win or a lot, but not like this. And let's not forget, the reason why I said that is because this attorney, He doesn't have all the data. The big one is next year in 2024. That's the one that I said, hey, this is the one we got to watch out for because they got all the data. They got the MLS data. These guys are the tobacco attorneys. So these guys are going to go in there and get all the data. They got the emails from the danger report. They have all that. This guy in Missouri, and when I say worst case scenario, he's a personal injury attorney. This guy's a small-time attorney in a small town that just crushed these $1,000 an hour suits and lawyers in a courtroom in the middle of the country. Now, all he did was use the Missouri MLS data, emails, video interviews with some of the franchise people. The guy, the CEO from Berkshire Hathaway, he was on there, and he crushed them. Okay, and no data. They don't have the MLS data, like I said. And when was the last time in this environment, this country we live in, where you got 8 people to agree on something in less than 3 hours?
Right.
This guy did it. And don't forget, they had the best attorneys on the side, and a lot of people were blaming the attorneys, this. Listen, man, all you had to do was look at the data and look what was going on. This guy used their own information. So that is, I don't want to get all the details around enough time, but that right there is a sign that, we're in trouble because the big ones are now coming. And not only that, and the NAR and all those guys, they could have settled that thing. They could have settled it. But now that case, so nobody knew what the values of these cases were. That case in Missouri just 10x'd the value of the case in Illinois. So now the attorneys in Illinois say, oh, you know what? This is no longer a $3 or $4 billion case. This is a $15, $20, $30 billion case, maybe more, based on Missouri, because Missouri is a $5 billion case because they won 1.7 and it's triple damages. And
so, Steve, let me ask you: is for the people that are listening, what's the name of the? And I want people to stay educated on this, and of course, come back to the podcast to learn more. And I'm sure we'll be talking to Steve once again. But what's the name of the case in Illinois that people can track?
Moel, Moehl.
Okay. That's the one you're saying is the bigger one, the mother
much bigger. Yeah, it's all 50 states. This is just one state.
Oh, dude,
yeah. And the reason why it's waste case scenario is because the repercussions of this is massive, no matter what happens on the appeal. And most likely, best case scenario, they just get a retrial, right? Probably not going to even be that. But NAR comes out and says, "Oh, we got $1.7 billion to appeal this." I mean, you got $1.7 billion. No, we got $1.7 billion because it's going to be an assessment for the realtors. It's going to be $1,000, $2,000 assessment is what it's going to be on. So let's fast forward to the repercussions of just what's going on. So after that case, everybody should be getting the updates on this in Inman News because this is going to impact our business. You have to be prepared so you can be ahead of the curve and guess. Now, before this trial, my guess was what was going to happen is, they could settle this, and then all we're going to have to do is an addendum explaining the commissions. Well, that is most likely out the door now because it's grown so big. And there's about 10, 15 other copycats because now what you're seeing these attorneys that are going, wait a minute, that guy just won $1.7 billion. If he can do it, we can do it. And now you're seeing all these new cases, copycat cases. All they're going to do is they're going to take the exact same template he has and just use it all over the states. I think there's 15 now. I think Georgia just filed yesterday. Now they're going after teams and states and stuff, local level. They're going after the boards now. And what they're doing is every one of these cases, like I was talking before, the change is going to come more quickly if the DOJ gets involved. And remember, the last thing you want to do is piss off the DOJ, okay?
So let's talk about the DOJ because I feel like I'm pretty hip to what's happening. But every time me and you talk, start taking more and more about the DOJ. I know a thing or two about dealing with them, different podcast episode, but what kind of ramifications and what relationship is this case to what's happening with the DOJ? And let's educate everybody on that because no one's talking about this, dude.
Yeah. So when the DOJ wants information, it's let's say they want to talk to someone from the owner of a franchise or the owner of a real estate company. Well, that owner can say, no, I'm not going to talk to you, or contact my lawyer and lawyer up. Okay. So it's hard for them to get the information if they don't want to talk. Well, when you have a civil trial, there's a place called discovery, right? And now during discovery, that other attorney can ask the owner or the other side whatever they want, pretty much. And when they answer, that's basically public record. So that's when I say every one of these trials, all that information is basically a fruit basket for a DOJ. So it's like a DOJ free investigation, because now the DOJ can get that information and that data and say, oh, hey, us again. Remember we wanted to talk to you? Well, now you said this information in this trial. Now you have to talk to us, and we want to know what you're talking about right here. We want to know what do you mean standard, not standard? What do you mean the MLS doesn't allow this? So now, and if you saw at the end of that trial, the Kirchfield, whatever his name is, the attorney in Missouri, he actually said part of the discussion that the DOJ is having with him is discussion on how the MLS is used as a tool to inflate commissions. So now for the first time, the DOJ is actually investigating how the MLS works, how it's regulated and stuff like that. Before, they were just looking at these rules and cooperation rules. And meaning, based off what I'm seeing, the DOJ isn't too happy with NAR because they kind of, bamboozled them on that settlement, right? The DOJ was expecting this, and NAR, the spirit of the deal doesn't seem like what the DOJ expected. So that's why you're seeing the DOJ, which is unprecedented. The DOJ is inserting themselves in a lot of these commission trials, saying, "Hey, here's our opinion. Here's this." So they're cooperating with a lot of these plaintiff attorneys to get this information and data, and that's thousands of man hours that DOJ doesn't have to do anymore. So they're going to be able to implement these things based on these trials. That's why these trials, you want to settle. You don't want to go to discovery, because as soon as you go to discovery, it's a Pandora's box opens up, and that's what's happening. And to perfect example, Bill Gates. What was your biggest mistake you ever made? He was on CNBC. The biggest mistake Bill Gates said he ever made was not settling with the DOJ quickly when Microsoft was involved with the DOJ. And the reason why, he said two things. Number one, it cost me a lot of money. I ended up losing in the long run. But the number one reason is Microsoft was working on search, and they're working on phones, and they're working on Apple. So because of that loss of time and loss of resources, Bill Gates wasn't able to focus on this, and Google took advantage of it, and so did Apple. So that's exactly what's going on with a lot of these companies in NAR and the MLSs. Now they're taking, number one, they're taking money and resources, which should be in R&D right now with technology and how we can capture the consumer, and how NAR can stay front and center, and how Realtor can stay in front and center.
You're right.
A lot of these companies, now all that money, all that time, all that R&D, it's going to the lawyer fees and trying to fight these lawsuits. That's going to be the biggest outcome of the commission lawsuits on a basis right now. And what the DOJ does, we're gonna have to watch what they do and watch their comments. That's why Inman's pretty good. They're pretty up to date on what the DOJ is doing, and some of these attorneys are talking about. Now there's so many cases, it's crazy. It's like 15. I mean, can you imagine the attorney fees and times an hour with all this? I mean, my opinion, no. I think NAR, an option for some of these companies, NAR and some of these companies, is, just file bankruptcy and, settle all these lawsuits and move on.
So let me ask you, as Nick and I looked this up on another podcast, we have the same topic. NAR was what, number one biggest lobbying group in DC?
88 million, right?
88 million, yeah. And like the pharmaceutical industry was like 40 million or something, Nick. It was crazy.
Yeah, number two.
Yeah, so it's number one by a lot. This big lobbying arm that they have, like, what the hell? It ain't doing a damn thing.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, because the reason why look, explain to me how realtors with no experience and that aren't educated in the market, don't know what they're doing, are making the same amount of money as realtors that are educated and super knowledgeable, right? The lobbying that the NAR has been doing the last 20, 30 years has helped poor agents. The good agents have suffered because of NAR's lobbying. Most of the time, because good agents are, it's harder for us to reach to the consumer because the consumer thinks we're all a commodity now, right? If you talk to a consumer, what's a realtor? I know 10 realtors. You're all the same. Well, they're right. 95% of them are all the same. That's from the danger report. NAR's own danger report said that their biggest threat to our industry was unknowledgeable agents that don't know what they're doing. That's NAR's own danger report. None of that was fixed. But NAR is like a gym. They want numbers. They want quantity. That's what they do. So their lobbying was super successful because, look, they got 1.6 million members. And even in a down market, the lowest transactions pretty much in the last 20 years, they're still not losing realtors. Why? Because unlike 2008, most agents were full-time. So like, you know what? This market's no good. This is how I make my living. I'm out. Well, a majority of agents now, this is not how they make their living. They got the real estate license, either a part-time gig or for social reasons. Not my opinion. 65% of the agents haven't done a deal in the last 12 months. They're still going to keep their license because they know that one of these days they could hit a commission for 30 grand. So it's going to pay all their fees for the next 30 years or whatever. So the lobbying has been very, very successful in one respect. But now they've relied too much on that lobbying. And now when you're in court, you're going against the DOJ. The lobbying helps with the DOJ. So that it's going to help. It could help with the DOJ, but at some point, there might be so many politicians that say, no, there's not enough. Sorry, you've done too much. But it's not going to help them in the commission lawsuits because these judges are appointed. You really can't. There's not really with the federal judges, there's no incentive either way because they're appointed. So they don't have to go up for election. But it could help with the DOJ because, as we know, the politicians can, talk with the DOJ or talk with that way. But the lobbying kind of hurt them because they were so, I don't know, just like Brad Inman said, the NAR was so arrogant the last 20, 30 years because they had so much power that they really didn't create a good, I don't know, reputation, or should say that, lack of a better word. They did, the last 10 years, NAR didn't show the difference of what a good realtor does in the marketplace to the consumers. That's why consumers think we're a commodity.
Well, the NAR is incentivized by memberships. So they want as many realtors as possible, right, Steve? Isn't that the crux of it all? Is they're by propping up the commissions or protecting commissions, it allows those not unethical, but lack of professionals trained in the danger report, that threat to exist so that they can make their membership dues. But how many of those people are going to make their membership dues?
I was around in 2008, and this is kind of a long story, but real quick, I'll try and make it quick. So in 2008, the membership of NAR dropped quite a bit. Why? Because a lot of the people were full-time, and you know what? I'm not, my dues are coming up in January. I'm not going to pay it. I'm not selling any houses. I'm going to go to another job. Because back then, very few people were part-time. 95% were full-time. Okay. It's the opposite today. So back then, NAR is like, well, hey, we don't want this to happen again. What can we do? Well, that's when you see the portals came in and a lot of technology came in that allowed us not to have as much knowledge as you needed. I didn't need to know about the schools. I didn't need to know about I could have another job, and I could have my clients looking on Zillow or Realtor.com. Hey, I found this house. When I started, and before 2008, you couldn't do that. If your client wanted a house, you had to find it. They couldn't find it. So this was pushed. And NAR, I think NAR is one of the greatest marketing companies in the world because they have been able to convince the consumers that, just hire a realtor. It don't matter which one. Just hire a realtor. Use a realtor. That's it. Are they a realtor? Use them. You know that because the top coaches and some of the top coaches and brokers have taught their agents years. You always see it. Who you hire matters. Well, we got to push that because the consumer thinks, what do you mean? A realtor's a realtor. All you got to do is talk to them. And to your point, Nick, the NAR is kind of like a gym. The gym down the street here, they have 20,000 people there. Well, only 2,000 people go there on a regular basis. Who's more important to them? The 18,000
people that don't go.
Or the 2,000?
Yeah.
That's why when people go to a gym, they go, the bathroom's dirty, the lockers are no good, the carpet. It don't matter. You're not the main reason. So the gym, same with NAR. NAR is going to make, and the local MLSs, they're going to favor the 10,006, like in Vegas, there's 17,000 realtors, 10,600 haven't done a deal in the last 12 months, but they're still paying their dues. And back to the point, all at the end of the year, now you can put your dues on your credit card on a monthly basis. So it's no longer $1,200 or $1,300. It's $100 a month now. Who cares?
Oh, right? That's a new change. It's not annually.
For our local MLS, it's so most realtors didn't in 2008 when we saw a big drop. 2009, most realtors didn't turn their license in or quit real estate because of the national one. It's because of the local one, because the local one was more expensive, the local MLS and the access to the MLS. So they said, hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We can put it on a monthly basis, just like a gym or auto pay. So now instead of, $1,200 or $1,500 in January, it's $100 a month. So that's why nobody's quitting. I mean, look, if this was 10, 15 years ago, Vegas wouldn't have 17,000 realtors. We'd have 10,000 realtors, right? Actually, we'd have 7,000 realtors because 10,000 haven't done any transactions in 12 months. But don't forget, those realtors are going to do probably one deal or two deals over a 3 to 4 year period. So that's, when you add it all up, that's 30 to 40,000 transactions they're going to be taken away from full-time agents because everyone thinks it's a commodity.
So what's the end game with the DOJ? What's the end game the NAR wants to see? And what are they willing to do to get there? What do they want to see happen, and how do they get there? What do they have to give up? What do they have to compromise on? And what does the DOJ want to see that they would be willing to accept? Because they can come in here and kind of stop these copycats with regulations, can't they? Can't they just do some type of?
I don't know, dude.
Is this the end of the NAR MLS, an NAR round MLS? Or just go back to my first question. What's the end game here?
So 6 months ago, I could have told, if NAR would have just settled with the DOJ and been cool with them, they probably would have gone away. But what happened is the DOJ, after that settlement, the DOJ wasn't seeing the results that were expected. So they were kind of like, what's going on here? Because the commissions actually in Vegas, the buyer side commissions actually went up after that settlement. So those people were like, oh, wait a minute. So now the DOJ's, hey, what's going on here? Commissions were supposed to be put on public-facing websites. So the DOJ thought, oh, now the buyers are going to see what the commissions are. Well, you can go on all the portals in Las Vegas. I think the only one that has it on there is homes.com. But all the major portals, it's either hidden or you can't find it. It's not on the MLS public. When the buyers get the MLS sheets, they're not on there. So I think the DOJ was thinking, wait a minute, you guys thought I thought we were gonna be more transparent. Oh, we did. See? Oh, no, you kind of tricked us. So I think that's what's going on right now. So now when you play that game, hey, okay, you want to keep on playing with us? Then you know what? The hammer's going to be harder. So that's why and you know what? It goes back to the arrogance that, hey, we have all this lobbyists. We make the rules, not you. Now they're starting to find out.
I know, dude. That's what it is.
I think that's
straight arrogance, bro. Ego.
Well, look, man, as soon as that trial was over, just a few days after their words, that the CEO that was with NAR for over 30 years, they had an emergency meeting and he was let go earlier or something. The article's in Inman. Read that. That doesn't make sense. The person that was in HR for, I think, 38 years retired earlier, so there's a lot of chaos going on there. Plus, you got what was going on in the New York Times. Remember, they all denied that stuff, right? The only reason why we found out about it is because of a reporter and the article. So this is the kind of stuff that we got to find out what's really going on so we can make educated decisions. And we have to, the current people running the local MLSs and boards aren't the same people who were running it 5 and 10 years ago, right? The lawsuits aren't for the last 4 years. The lawsuits are from, the original ones. Now the new ones are all over the place. But 2015 to 2020 that's the period that they're talking about. So if we don't make changes, they could do another lawsuit from 2020 to 2024 also. So that's time periods you have to look at.
So let's talk about number one. Everybody watching and listening, I told you Steve was a stud. Listen to it. I feel so much smarter every time, especially on this stuff. But I'm a new agent at your office, and I'm hustling. I work. I pick up the phone. I'm scared shitless. What does my what does my boss, the Hawk Man, tell me to do?
I'll get to that real quick. Rick, you had one thing about NAR and the MLS.
Yep.
What's going to happen with that? I want to take care of one myth that I hear all the time. Oh, technology and Zillow and all these other companies are behind these lawsuits. Nothing could be, a lot of the franchise, some of these owners are saying that. Nothing could be farther from the truth, because the biggest beneficiary of the current system is the portals and the tech companies. So that has nothing to do with it. And the last thing they want is the DOJ looking at inside how everything works. And in the future, hey, we should have a national MLS, okay, that all of us can connect to. So if someone's moving to Las Vegas and they're from California, they could go to my website and look at houses in California and Nevada. They don't need to go to a certain portal. That's a restraint of trade that's hurting big time professional agents, because I can't compete. And why? That's a restraint of trade. We should be able to have the same data that everybody else is. And if you have a national MLS, it eliminates that. And what does it do? It decreases the amount of realtors, obviously, increases the amount of professional agents, and it helps the consumer, because now the consumers can actually talk with someone that knows what they're talking about and go to their website to get that data. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to have that same data that these portals have, that these consumers are going all across the country, especially if you live in an area where you have a lot of people moving in and out of. So, but to the new agents, Sydney, for a new agent.
No, well, it's not necessarily new, but somebody in the office, year or two, close some deals, quit their other job. Like, I have sympathy for those people, because they must be scared.
Yeah. Well, in Vegas, I'm a unique situation, right?
I know you are. I'm asking the right person.
So if in Las Vegas, what do? I'm a bartender. I'm a cocktail waitress. I'm a server. The last thing you need to do is quit your job, because you're making $100,000 to $250,000 a year, right? And when do you work? You make all your money usually in the evenings, Friday, Saturday, nights. So I got a lot of people that I know that work 3 nights a week that make over $200,000 a year. Okay, and they get benefits. They're in the union. So you're not going to.
What if they aren't in the? What if they aren't in the industry? A full-time agent?
Yeah, full-time agent. But a lot of those agents that they're doing it part-time, they're making $200,000 or $300,000 in real estate and $200,000 or $300,000 on their second job. And guess what? 25 to 50% of their leads come from where?
Yeah,
their second job. Service. So you want to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and make 3 hours worth of calls, or do you want to make your calls between 5 and 9 o'clock at night when you're at your job and there's a lot of people coming in? So now you're getting paid to prospect. So that's the way you look at it. So if you're in a situation where you really need the money, your job is a great prospecting tool also, depending on what you do. Let's say you quit your job like you said, Sunit. In Vegas, obviously, I tell them you have to get into the new home market out here. That's what saved us this last 2023, because in Vegas is unique. I'm sure it's like this in some other areas, but in the past, Vegas new home transactions was, the last 10 years, 10 to 13% of the total transactions. Today, the last few months, it's been like this for a while, 44% of all the transactions are new homes. So you have to have a new home. So a lot of people, I say, hey, go to these new homes. You're going to meet some people that are walking around in the parking lot. Talk with them. Go learn your new home. Go learn your new home inventory, because people are looking at resales like, I don't want this. And when you go talk to someone that's in a house, most likely they're not going to sell their 3.5% interest rate or 3% house, but they want a new house. Oh, there's nothing I can do. Sure, there is. They can rent that house that they have. Now, that house that they're renting, they're going to have one person pay off their old loan, and that person is going to pay off partial of their new home. Does that sound good to you? Yes. Let's go look at the new homes. Because the payments are so low out here, I'm sure everywhere, and the amount of cash flow that they're going to make off on that house, they don't need to sell that house. They can put less money down and still have a monthly payment net of less than it would be if they sold that house and put that money down, because you have the renter paying off that loan, plus the extra cash flow can go to subsidize your new home house.
As long as they're new takeout financing, if they're not cash, their new home loan can show that their rental, now their primary, now a rental home, is no longer debt. Are you seeing that, Steve? Immediately, if you can show that's a rental, it can immediately go off your books for your debt to income.
Well, not only that, it helps their cash flow, because the average person out here on a 2,500 square foot house that refied at 2 to 3%, they're gonna make $1,000 a month, plus or minus, right? Close to anywhere from $800 to $1,500 a month. They're gonna cash flow on that house. That payment's taken care of, so that's off their debt ratio, and they have income coming in. That income doesn't count as their income, but in their head and in the reality, that $1,500 a month can be used to subsidize their new house payment.
Now, this scenario, Steve, leads into inventory, because if what you're saying is true, that leads me to believe the inventory is going to be restricted or lower. If they're not going to put their home on the market, so churn is down, they're going to turn it into a rental. We're relying on new homes only, new construction.
In Las Vegas, that's why you're seeing 45% of the market. In fact, we got to tell people like it is. A lot of the people that we talk to, that I talk to, it doesn't really make sense to sell their house and buy a new one because of that scenario I just told you. You got the Fed that created this bizarro world that we live in now. So that's never happened before, ever, where you could actually rent your house out, make enough cash flow. And I'm not just talking 2 or 3 people. I'm talking a majority of the homeowners out here, right? So that's the way you can create transactions. And it's another reason why, I see all these people on the internet saying the housing market's going to crash. I haven't seen one realtor out here say that, because we know what's going on. It's an inventory. Yes, we have the lowest buyers ever, but guess what? The sellers are even lower. Supply and demand trumps everything. I don't care anything that's going on. Everything else, the money supply, all that has big impact, but it impacts supply and demand. So that's the main thing. I mean, you have supply and demand, and to your point, I'm sure this is common in a lot of areas. It doesn't make sense for someone to sell at 3.5, and even if the rates go to 5.5, so there was a survey that said, a lot of people would sell their house if the rates went to 5 or 5.5. Well, that's not accurate anymore, because what we're seeing now is, I'm sure California is worse. And if it's
every time we talk,
California, if it's happening in Vegas, I can't imagine what's going on in California. So what we're seeing right now is people are calling me and saying, "Hey, my mortgage is adjusting. What do you have? I got a 2.5% 30-year fixed." I go, no. What was the house in 2019? Oh, about 275, 300. What is it now? About 525. Okay, that's your property taxes and your home insurance. Okay, that's going up that much. So a lot of people that had $1,100 a month payments on that scenario are like $1,500 now, right? And the property tax is going to continue to go up. It's a 3% cap. So a lot of these people that bought houses that have a loan balance, now they're going to go look for a new home. If the rates drop to 5.5, but they're going to see, oh, wait a minute, why are my property taxes so much more on this house than this one? Well,
you're right.
We have a property tax.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The insurance premiums are going up. Insurance companies are in Washington State, definitely in California, I'm sure, around the wildfires and different things.
Insurance, right?
And older homes are becoming harder and harder to get insurance on. They want to do, instead of they want actual replacement costs versus, or the current value of the property versus actual replacement cost on older homes. So there's a lot of things going on. And I want to ask you something, Steve, about 2009. Last time I saw you in person was 2019 in Green Valley Ranch. You spoke on stage. You remember that?
After I
I think it was 2017.
It was quite 2019 and
2019 I spoke. 2017 it was 2019 is when I spoke.
And you were on stage and you were talking about China. And everyone's jaws dropped like, why would I even care about China and China's real estate market? I'm in the US or in Canada because a lot of, we have a lot of Canadian clients.
Yeah.
And they do very well. And you were saying that they were printing so much money, trillions of dollars, and building homes, and people weren't even living in them. Is that something we even care about anymore? Or were you just blowing smoke from stage?
Well, it was smoke, because where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
That's going on right now in China. China's on fire. It's burning. I mean, the real estate market is burning up. They don't know what to do. In fact, Xi came to America looking for money. That's how bad China is. And people, I've been talking about the ghost cities, and that started, Google China ghost cities, and everybody can see this. I started talking about this in 2010 because I'm like, wait a minute here. What's going on? Well, China doesn't have safety nets. So when their economy collapsed, they put all these people to work by building these ghost cities, right? And now
and no one lives there.
Nobody lives there. And then people were telling me, oh, no, Steve, people are going to move there. I go, who's going to move there? Who? 65 million. Now it's 80 million. Who's going to move there? Their population is aging. They're not going to move there. And their middle class is 110 million people. And now you have 80 million vacant. Who's going to live there? And now we're starting
80 million is that number of vacant units? I didn't think it was that much. Holy.
Oh. Now, we haven't seen nothing yet. So if you look at what's going on right now, China is actually blowing up some of these cities that nobody ever lived in. And people, this isn't like, in Vegas or these, during the downturn when you saw subdivisions empty, okay? Those were houses that people could live in eventually, right? I'm talking, pretend you're going to Los Angeles, no exaggeration, even bigger. Pretend you're going to Los Angeles and you're driving from, downtown, the whole length of downtown, it's all these high rises that are empty. That's what you see in China all over. They kept their people working. That's
and government contracts, and people got paid. The rich made a bunch of money. Yeah.
I mean, we make fun of them for doing that, but just think, in our country, we give money away for doing nothing. So it's similar situation. The only difference is that the government is giving away the free money, and that goes to the people. Whatever they do with it is what they do with it. The difference here is the government is giving the money to be built, these high rises and condos, and then people are buying them. At least they thought they were buying them. Here's what happened. Now people need to Google Evergrande and Countrywide. In fact, right now as we speak in China, they just did a TARP-like situation. The developers out there are in such bad situations that China had to bail them out. So if about a year and a half ago, if you remember, there was tanks in front of the banks. Well, people were going to the banks to get their money out because they found out that the real estate market out there is one big Ponzi scheme. So the government was putting the tanks in there to stop them from rioting. So the government, this was about a year and a half ago, the government bailed them out. Well, everyone thought it was going to be okay. I'm like, well, here's the problem with that. The people now know that it's a Ponzi scheme. In China, when you buy a condo, when you buy real estate that's being built, you get a loan, it goes to the developer, and they start building. So you're paying money before it's even built. Like in America, you buy a house, you don't start paying until you walk in the door, walk through. Yes, this is the house I paid for. This is what I want. I'm moving in. Here's your money. No. It don't work like that in China. In China, the bank gives you the money. You give it to the builder, and the builder says, your house will be ready in about a year or two. The largest developers in the world were taking that money and using it for other purposes. So then when the people found out, they're like, wait a minute, I want my money back. I'm not going to pay no more. So then the largest developers, they found out, wait a minute, I thought I gave you this money for these high rises. Oh, no, we needed it for that one. Why do I have nothing to do with that one? So now the government's like, okay, we bailed them out. So they guaranteed the people's money. China did, right? Well, fast forward to today, and they bailed them all. They bailed them all out. They guaranteed it, all that stuff, right? Well, here's the problem now. The people aren't buying them anymore because they know it's a Ponzi scheme. And now they're in deep, deep trouble and they don't know what to do. And that's why you're seeing people in China are actually giving their money to underground banks. That's how desperate they are. And they're funneling that money all over the world to get it out of China. One of the reasons why we have such low inventory in America, there's about 14, per the census, there's about 14 million vacant homes in the U.S. That's per the census. There was a report that said 16 million, but we'll go with the lower number at 14 million. 28% of those were second homes. Why so many second homes? Well, because the interest rates were low for so long that people used their real estate as a savings account. They just keep them vacant. Why would you keep a house vacant? A lot of people, a lot of money. Who cares? I'll just use this savings account. They made, 10 times more sitting that house vacant than they would in a savings account or a CD. And if you're in states that have, crazy ass rent control laws, and it's, safer just to keep the house vacant because you might not be able to get the person out. In California, I think there's 2.5 million vacant homes right now per the census. Why is this important? A lot of that China money is coming in to the United States, and these houses are staying vacant. These aren't houses like, that were vacant in 2008 that are decrepit and
tract houses, this nice houses.
Yeah, these are good homes. And in China, because of the two-child policy, this is another big problem. Their population is turning upside down. They had the one-child policy for 20 years. Now there's a huge amount of men over women, like 60-40. That's huge. That's a big deal. And so in China, when you buy a condo or you buy something and you keep it vacant, so in order to attract more women, men, in order to get a wife or a mate in China, a lot of the way to do it for prestige is you buy real estate. And if it's vacant, it gives you more prestige. So vacant properties are more prestigious. That's why you're seeing a lot of these vacant homes and money coming in. So we're seeing a complete different mentality of buying real estate all over the world because of China. And don't forget, China has tons of money that they printed. And we have no idea how much money they're printing right now. And you can Google Evergrande, and Country Gardens is the big developers in China that are defaulting on their dollar-denominated debt now. And that's the short version.
Wow. Is there any idea how many U.S. single-family homes, multifamily, are owned by foreign investors, foreign money?
It's there. There was an article in Vegas. There's I think 80,000 in Vegas are owned by corporate, but no, it's hard to tell because you can open these LLCs. Don't forget, part of the lobbying that NAR did, I think 2002 or 2003. You don't, like, if you buy cash for a house, you don't have to source those funds. So the best way to launder money in the world is basically American real estate, because you can wire money to the title company, buy the house, sell the house, and now that money is clean. So we don't know how many houses are owned by foreign entities. That's why for 2 years we should have no foreign entities buy any homes until we get this housing crisis shortage taken care of, because it doesn't make sense to, especially now we're going to be a big surge of this. We don't know. I could go open foreigners, someone from a foreign country, non-citizen, can open up an LLC, put money in the account, go buy a house, and never have to source it. Yet I got buyers that they want to know why their $54 cable bill was paid with a credit card instead of a check, and why they got a $12 deposit in their account. Craziness.
If you guys are listening to this, you have to go over to YouTube and see the video, because every once in a while, Sanit's eyes get really big when Steve talks. It's like the jaw drop moment. So
yeah, dude, Steven told me, and the dude educates me, and I love it. So Steve, I want more people to watch more of you, because like I said, I have a ton of respect for you. Check better be in the damn mail, bro. But how do they learn more about you? How do they send you every single one of their referrals in Las Vegas?
Yeah, you can get me on Instagram, Hawks_Steve. Just DM me, and a lot of my videos, you can. There's probably 300 or 400 on there. You can go down through there and watch some of the videos that we've updated, and you can see what's happened and what's going to happen. And that's the probably the best place to get constantly updated, my YouTube channel. But if you want just a quick fix on what's going on and do your research, Hawks_Steve at Instagram is the best one. And like a lot of people, we live in a centrally planned economy now. So when people say, "Oh, nobody can predict the future, nobody has a crystal ball," well, that's not really true anymore, right? If I'm with Sunit at Green Valley Ranch and he tells me, I haven't eaten in 3 days and we're in a line for a buffet, guess what? I can predict he's going to be eaten in 10 minutes, right? That's not a prediction. I don't need a crystal ball for that. Well, when the government and the Fed come out and do stuff like say, you know what, we're going to raise the rates and then we're going to do forbearances, I can predict that there's going to be a shortage of inventory, right? So back in the past, you couldn't really predict what's going to happen because the economy wasn't centrally planned. It was a free market. Now it's centrally planned, so you could have a good idea, at least a 90% educated guess of what's going to happen and how you can prepare for that market. Just like the new homes in Vegas, 45% transactions. Well, we knew that's going to be in fact, at our crystal ball event at LVR at the Trends, we had the new homes there, and we said that the new homes are going to explode. This is something you can go see on my Instagram. We did the videos on this over about a year ago now, that 2023 is going to be the year of the new homes. Start marketing, start niching, start getting out there, because it's going to be huge. And it was the largest ever in history, 45%, and that's going to continue. So that's the kind of data that I have on the videos on the IG account that is quick, boom, 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 doesn't take a lot of time, learn what's going on, and use it for your area.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're definitely going to be invited back. We hope you accept our invitation to talk more.
For sure. It's always great.
Are you coming out here to Maverick?
No, I never miss one out here in there, but it's my wife's birthday. We're not going to be in town. So
Steve, thank you so much. As Nick said, and everybody viewing and listening, I got a lot out of this. And if you're watching, you can see my eyes open up about 30 times. There's Steve talking, because it's really real information. I hope you got something out of it. Share it with a friend. Like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next Reside Platform podcast.